Okay, so I found this book like a year ago. It's called Ornamentalism. The writer talks about how Asian women are constituted through inanimate or decorative objects, whether it be a vase or a dress or jewelry or something that's just beautiful. In Cheng's book, she says, ornament is the flesh for Asian female personhood. The peculiar materialism and materiality of, quote, yellow decorativeness presses us to reconsider the facticity of racialized presence. She also says that ornamentalism operates as a critical lens for tracing the fluctuation between subjects and objects, persons and things that have been activated by the evocation and construction of Asiatic femininity. And it's this exploration of racialized gender and this kind of subject-object thing that brought me to this project. In Robin Waltz's reading that we read in class, they say entertaining shocks and violence in Les Vampires are supplemented by the erotically charged female body of Irma Vep. And I was curious how this might have been problematized in the Olivier Assayas version with Maggie Cheung. But of course, before Maggie Cheung, there was so many other examples. Actually, not so many others. I wanted to explore what was going on in the history, and so I found this movie. It's called The Dragon Painter. It's quite interesting. It was written by Richard Schreyer. It was directed by William Worthington, but originally it was based on a novel, same name, The Dragon Painter, by Mary McNeil Fenollosa. So here's the book. Very, very stereotypical of what you might imagine. She's got the long dress, the fan, the pins in the hair, there's candles, it's decor. It's everything ornamental, but really it begins as Orientalist. Okay, but anyways, so what happens in the film is that there's Tatsu. He's this guy. He's really sad because the love of his life, he claims, turned into a dragon and has been gone, forever. And so he has a really broken heart, and so he's just motivated to paint all the time. He paints the mountains and the river, and when someone asks, where is she in this? I don't see her. He's like, oh my god, well, she's under the river. And this guy, Kanawandara, he's this prolific painter. He's like, oh my god, you have to be like my heir. I'm so excited. I'm jumping for joy. So he brings him home. And little does Tatsu know that when he gets home, Kanawandara's daughter is there. Her name is Umeko. And she also loves to paint. She's really good. But her dad is like, oh, you're a woman, so you're okay for a woman painter, but I need a son. I need a son to be my heir, to carry on this legacy. So she sits there day and night, and she's kind of relegated to this position as an object to the house, where she really functions as a mere excess, which is very, very upsetting. But anyways, he brings him home. They're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna paint together, it's gonna be wonderful. It's going to be great. And then, you're home. The objects start appearing. There's decor. There's the belongings that are very ornate in the house. You have lantern, vases, and then there's Umiko. And Tatsu's like, oh my god, I love you. You're my dragon lady that has disappeared for years. And she's like, okay, well, yes, I guess I love you too. And then they're so happy. And it's wonderful. They're so in love. They're in love still. And then he goes to paint again, and he's like, oh my god, I have no desire to paint. I don't even know what to do. And she's like, oh, okay. So he actually does this in the film. He punches a hole in the canvas, and he's like, oh my god, I just want to love you. And so because of this, Umeko, she kills herself. So we think. Spoiler alert also, sorry. And so little bit after, everyone fully believes that she's dead. But then the dad is like, oh my god, she's gone. You're my son now. This sorrow, let it bring you artistry. Let it bring you creativity. Let those juices flow. And there's a screen grab that says, sorrow gave Tatsu back the mastery love had taken away. And then he has this massive exhibition, and that's supposed to be paintings of them. And the people there are Europeans, and they're like, wow, that's dashing. Essentially, Umeko just functions as this idea of a person, an idea of a desire of love, of longing, that then compels him to create this product of art that then gives him capital gain. And that brings us to what quite is the Yellow Woman? What is ornamentalism? First, you can add decor to understand. You have little ceramic beads, and then you have chopsticks usually on an Asian character that's a woman, and then you have some red lipstick, and then you can add a dress. You might add a dragon, which might start to irritate her, and then the dragon has a fan too. And then she becomes Irma Vep, who is also played by Maggie Cheung, who plays herself as Maggie Cheung, where she still exists as this object of desire, this fantasy, where this Western kind of desire the director projects onto her. While the director is trying to make this film, towards the end he points at Maggie. He says, "You are just on the surface. Irma has no flesh, no blood. She's just an idea. I'm interested in you. You're more important than the character, but in the end there's nothing for you to act because Irma is an object." Musadora as Irma Vep in Les Vampires is kind of this iconographic ideal that leads us to the idea of the celebrity. In Ornamentalism, Cheng says the eccentric status of this thing we call a celebrity, already an amalgamation of object and subject, when considered through race and gender, has the potential to produce an uncanny figure of transmutation, where human erasure yields a human object whose condition of being challenges the parameter of what counts as human. Both Umeko and Maggie in Irma Vep are reduced to concepts, objects of desire, where gendered racialization of Asian women as hypersexual results in their perception as disposable bodies. They exist as vehicles that motivate an internal, individualized pleasure, specifically male pleasure, in the production of cultural capital, whether it's a painting or a film. Maria Cecilia Hwang says that this hypersexualization, this reduction to an object, implies an immorality that is already provoked by the ideal of Irma Vep. This in turn threatens the social order, thereby justifying Asian women's disposability. Both the Dragon Painter, the original text, and the film, as well as Irma Vep being written by white writers and produced through this Western lens, create a sort of image and glimpse into the objecthood, where Umeko and Maggie function as decor and things and ideas to be desired through the paradigm of white consciousness. It traces an interesting lineage in the development and the persistence of gendered racialization and the objectification and abjectification of what Cheng calls this Asiatic femininity, all the way from the silent era to the contemporary moment, and its historical rear-view mirror glimpse into the earlier stages of cinema, where racial formations can be examined and noted as present in the Western, though particularly white imagination. These ongoing forms of gendered racialization and the conflation between subject, object, person, and thing further complicate contemporary misunderstandings of gender that I am personally invested in.